Little deal in Future Insurer mid-training camp. Give Sport and Icons a follow.
Okay, so following Kell Brook's 6th round stoppage win over Amir Khan, thus potentially ending their 10-year, even longer really, reigning feud, what's next for Kell Brook? Well, Kell Brook mentioned the name of Chris Eubank Jr. He said he don't like him and he wants to fight him. But again, he's talking about money, so he's a prize fighter, and Chris Eubank Jr. is of course a Sky Sports fighter. Okay, now, is that a fight that Ben Shalom, boxer, Sky Sports, Wasserman, Kalle Sauerland would be interested in making? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. But is that a step too far for Kell Brook at this stage? Maybe. Again, that will be entirely dependent, I think, on what weight they would fight at. Now, Chris Eubank Jr., I'm sure most of you know, I'm not trying to teach anybody how to suck eggs, but for those who don't know, Chris Eubank Jr. is a middleweight, 160 pounds, has performed at 168 pounds at super middleweight before, where he won the IBO world title, and Kell Brook has been a career welterweight, but again, he has fought at the super welterweight limit, 154, and he has fought at one time at middleweight when he took on Gennady Golovkin. Now, the feud between them two, if we can really call it that, did go back to when Kell Brook fought Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, because originally it was supposed to have been Triple G versus Chris Eubank Jr. We all know what happened. Kell Brook stepped in somewhat last minute, kind of, and took on Golovkin, and of course got his eye socket damaged in that fight. I think he's round number 5, if I remember rightly. So there's been a little bit of a needle between them since. Not necessarily because Kell Brook felt that maybe Chris Eubank Jr. should have took that fight, bottled it, and he stepped in and he blamed him for a loss. I don't think it's that. Listen, Kell Brook got paid very, very well, and he had the option to say no. But again, he was calling out Triple G himself up to that point, which is why I think Eddie Hearn went to Kell Brook in the first place. But certain things were said in the media between them all. They haven't really liked each other since. But is this a fight that you and I would want to watch? Well, I suppose it's be entirely dependent on what you want to watch, really. Would it be a mismatch as far as the weight is concerned? Could Chris Eubank Jr. go down to 154 super welter? I don't know. Would Kell Brook be willing to go up to middleweight, 160? If he did, is that good for him? Because obviously the more weight you put on him, the slower he's going to be. That's going up to the natural weight class of Chris Eubank Jr. As I said before, he has fought at super middleweight before. So it is going to come down to the weight. Now, as far as their career path, is it a fight that makes sense? Financially, of course, both guys will get paid very, very well. But would it do anything for them as far as getting to contention for a world title shot? Chris Eubank Jr. is he the number 1 or the mandatory for the WBA, currently held by Rota Murata at middleweight? As we know, Triple G and Murata, they are rescheduling this fight for the unification. So I believe Triple G will win that fight. No guarantees, of course, but I believe he will. Then Chris Eubank Jr. will become mandatory, or at least the number 1 for Triple G. Would he put that to the side to fight Kell Brook? Would he see Kell Brook as a tune-up until then? Is Kell Brook looking on Chris Eubank Jr. to say, well, okay, fine, you beat Liam Williams in the first half of the fight, and then in the second half of the fight, you're starting to fade? Is that what he's looking at? Does Kell Brook not realise that Chris Eubank Jr. damaged his hand, potentially broke his hand, which is why he slowed down and was showboating a lot? Not that he probably wouldn't have showboated anyway, but does Kell Brook realise that? Maybe he just wants to fight him anyway. Maybe he just wants to go, you know what, give me one large payday and I'm going to get out of here. I'm 35 years old. I don't need to do this anymore. I've already got money in the bank, but if somebody wants to top up my bank balance, no problem. That's a fight people would want to see. And of course, when it comes to skills pay the bills, Kell Brook does have a lot of skills. Does he have more skills than Chris Eubank Jr.? Is his boxing IQ better than Chris Eubank Jr.? Again, you'll decide that one. But I do feel at this stage of their careers, probably a step too far for Kell Brook. I think the size difference would be noticeable. The speed, of course, of a Chris Eubank Jr., his time is going to be there. Amir Khan's timing wasn't really there. His distance wasn't really there. Chris Eubank Jr.'s will be there. So is that dangerous for Kell Brook? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. But anyway, I'm just getting that news out there for you all to have a little bit of a chat about in the comment section. Do you give Kell Brook any chance of defeating Chris Eubank Jr.? Some people may argue, say, well, do you give Chris Eubank Jr. any chance of beating Kell Brook? Would Amir Khan activate the rematch clause with Kell Brook? Food for thought. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you on the next video.